What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Between the Lines Sports Podcast. We are your host. I'm Blair. This is Patrick. We are diving into a preview of college football week 9 and NFL week 8. We're getting caught back up after taking a couple weeks off, so we've missed a few games, few weeks for NFL and college, but we're picking it back up this week, and next week we'll get back into our normal swing where we do a recap and a preview for college football and NFL. But this week is kind of a shorter episode with just previews. So, college football, first game is Georgia at Florida. Georgia is a 14.5-point favorite. It's so different now thinking about it just because they don't have Brock Bowers. He's just such a key component to their team and, kind of that go-to guy and safety blanket for him. If he was playing, I would definitely feel like they would cover that, but might be a little bit tighter, not much. I don't think it'll ever be in doubt for Georgia, but I think Georgia or Florida will keep it a little bit closer than that 14.5. I don't know. I know they're very talented all across the board. Next guy up behind Bowers is probably going to be really good as well, but Bowers is kind of generational talent for tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, Georgia's just really hard to figure out this year because they're so much more talented than everybody they play, but they're kind of just like, I don't know, playing like they're bored. They're without Bowers, I mean, they're still really talented. He was the guy they were playing their offense through, so it's definitely going to be an adjustment. But now Lad McConkey's probably going to be fully healthy, and even though he doesn't look like much, I mean, the guy's really hard to guard. And then they've got some big guys on the outside like Ra Thomas that transferred from Mississippi State, and then Dominic Lovett, who's a speedster. These guys that they haven't really used that much or used in the way that they thought they would be used, they're going to have to rely on them a little bit more. Probably gave them enough time to get Daijun Edwards, their top running back, healthy too. So it's hard to predict because Florida, I don't know, like I've been talking trash about Florida all year, but now they're 5-2. They've won games I didn't think they would win. I don't think they can match up well with Georgia, but this is a rivalry game, and Georgia's just been so hard to predict because, like I said, they aren't. It doesn't seem they're playing or putting away teams that they should. So I think Florida's going to cover the line. I don't see any way how Florida wins the game unless Georgia turns it over multiple times and Florida just does some crazy things. But Florida is getting better and they're playing with confidence. And Mertz is really completing a high percentage of his passes, and the defense is not playing great, but they're playing well enough and just finding a way to get the ball back to the offense. So I think this is going to be competitive. I don't see a way Florida can win, but I think that it will be within 14 points with Georgia winning it.
Yeah, this is neutral site, right? Jacksonville. I mean, I don't know how neutral that is, but
yeah, they always play in Jacksonville. It's closer to Florida for sure, but it'll be split right down the middle.
yeah, I mean they'll travel well, I'm sure. All right, next one, Oregon at Utah. Both these teams are really good. I don't know. I don't know how truly in that conference. I don't know how much the home and away really plays effect on the top tier teams. I think on the lower tier teams it does for sure. But I kind of expect this one to be kind of a shootout. I do like Oregon to win. They're favored by 6.5. I just like kind of what I've seen from them so far this year, as far as kind of outscoring their opponents in a sense, and being that I think it's going to be a shootout, I think that'll be the difference at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Utah has some limitations because of not having Cam Rising on offense, but they still have done enough and have moved the ball effectively, especially Saturday night against USC when they almost blew the game, but then their starter Bryson Barnes got them down in field goal range. He's really gritty. He's tough. He's not super athletic, but he's just a winner. And I really like the way he started to play. He's starting to guide the offense. They have a strong running game. They're super tough, like they always are under Whittingham. Their defense is strong. I don't see the 6.5 at all. I don't know. I'm not that impressed with Oregon. I mean, they're a good team. I just think that Utah's tougher and better, and I think that Utah's going to cover the number. And honestly, I think Utah will win outright. I don't see Oregon going in there and winning. They already struggled in a tougher environment at Washington than they'll be in Utah. But I just think Utah is a much better team on defense than Washington, and will force Oregon to make some mistakes, and it's going to cost them. I think maybe they'll force Nix into making an interception or two, or making a play, or stripping the ball or something. The defense is just next level, and I think Utah is, for that reason, will find a way to win at home.
They did shut Rising down for the year, right? He's not going to play.
Yeah, he's out. I think that they said that he's not going to play the rest of the year, so I guess he's going to try to get a medical red shirt, and then he'll be a seventh-year senior next year.
Okay, so he's going to try to come back, you think?
That's what I've been hearing. I mean, he's not an NFL guy, you know. I mean, he's smart, so he might be like a backup or something, or third stringer, and work with the offense. But I mean, he doesn't. I don't think he has anything he's rushing off to. So yeah, I think he'll try to come back next year unless he changes his mind.
Interesting. All right, next one, Duke at Louisville. I think this could be a really good game. I've watched both of them a good bit. I've started to watch Louisville a little bit more now that they've kind of. I think when they cracked the top 25 after who was that they upset? Was it Miami?
No, Notre Dame.
Notre Dame, that's right. Yeah, when they beat them, I kind of started tuning into their games a little bit more. They did get thumped by Florida State this past week. So I don't know. I'm on the fence about it because Louisville, they lost to Pitt after that Notre Dame big win. They're coming off a bye, so I do like that for them. So and they're at home. They're favored by 4. I'm gonna go with Louisville to win and to cover.
Yeah, I think the biggest part of this game is Riley Leonard for Duke. Is he healthy or not?
Yeah.
He was kind of like a game time decision going into that Florida State game, and then he ended up playing. And Duke was ahead the entire time he was in the game. And I think the biggest moment in that game was Florida State knocking him out, because I don't know if Florida State could have stopped him had Riley Leonard not gotten hurt. So I think that's a big thing. Just have to see how the week develops and if Riley Leonard's going to play. I think if Leonard doesn't play, then I think Louisville wins, especially coming off the bye week after a disappointing loss at Pitt. Their offense is really good. Braum has made an immediate impact with their offense, and their defense is playing well too. If Leonard plays, I mean, I honestly think it's a pick 'em. Either one who has the ball last could win, because Duke's offense is just completely different with that guy playing. He's an amazing player. But with Louisville at home and not knowing how healthy Leonard's going to be, I would say Louisville probably wins. I mean, the 4 is a tricky number because I could see it being a field goal game, but we'll take Louisville to win and cover, just not knowing if Leonard is able to play and how healthy he's going to be. So I think 2 pretty solid teams, 2 teams that are going to be a tough matchup for whoever gets them in the postseason with a bowl game, and could definitely still have a say in who plays in the ACC championship game. I mean, Louisville and Duke both only have 1 loss in the ACC, so they definitely could both still possibly make it themselves, whoever wins this game, because Duke at least plays North Carolina, and so still a lot to be decided in the ACC for the championship. But in this game, I guess if you made me take, I'm going to take Louisville.
I gotcha. That's all I have for college. Is there any other games you want to brush up on?
No, I mean, we're just kind of getting into that time of year where, every game could be crazy. I know that Colorado's playing at UCLA Saturday night, Oregon State, Arizona. In the SEC, you got some interesting games like South Carolina and Texas A&M. Kind of both teams had their back against the wall. So nothing to break down in depth, just a lot of interesting games to watch and see what happens. So we'll have a bunch of interesting results to talk about next week, I'm sure.
All right. All right, moving on to the NFL Week 8 preview. First up, we have the Jaguars at the Steelers. Jaguars are favored by 2.5. I think both these teams to me are very similar this year. They're kind of a good, bad team, if that makes sense. They both have decent records, but I don't think either one of them is really like overly good. Now, the Jaguars have shown some really good flashes with their offense. When their offense is clicking and they're putting up a lot of points, I think they're one of the better teams in the league. But they've had some skids this year where they haven't really looked too good. I know there was a bunch of memes and stuff going around with the Calvin Ridley stuff. I don't think he had a reception this past week or the week before. I can't remember which one it was, but and then the Steelers, they've just kind of been unpredictable, really. If if their defense plays a good game, they always have a chance to win. But they're starting to get healthy again. They got Deontay Johnson back this past week. He wasn't a huge factor in that game, but just kind of another guy, another guy to go to. Um, I, I'm typically confident if I think they're going to win or not. I really don't know. I think last time I took them when they were an underdog at home was who was that? I can't remember who it was, but I think they lost. Or they might have been on the road. I'm not sure. Let me look. Who was it? I think it was the Texans. They might have been. Yeah, they were underdog, or they were a favorite on the road. That's what it was. And I took them, and so I don't know. I guess I'll take them to win. I like them at home, but I wouldn't be surprised either way, whichever way it went.
Yeah, I think the Steelers will win this game. Their defense is much better than the Jaguars, and just that unit's playing really well. I think Steelers are kind of. I mean, they aren't prolific on offense right now, but kind of finding their way. I think this offensive playing this week, especially after they got down 17-9, they played much better. I think Pickett and Pickens are really developing a good connection, especially on those vertical, like back shoulder throws and some stuff across the middle. And then having Johnson back open will probably open up the middle, or at least get Pickens one-on-one coverage more, because that guy, even though he drops the ball some, Johnson is definitely somebody you have to keep your eye on because he's so fast. So I just at home, I think the Steelers will win. Jaguars really coming on. I mean, I think they have a 5-2 record. I mean, they've beaten the Bills. They've got some pretty good wins, and they just won at the Saints on Thursday night. So playing really well, but just playing against the Steelers at home, the way that defense is playing, probably a low-scoring game, and I'm sure the Steelers defense will make some kind of sack, strips, fumble, scoop and score, some kind of play to put the Steelers in position to win at the end of the game. Because I mean, if the offense doesn't put them in a bad position, that unit is one of the best in the NFL. So probably the Steelers to win a close game, probably like 17-14 or 20-17, something like that. But the Steelers, I like the Steelers to win at home, especially as an underdog.
Good pick. All right, next one is Rams at Cowboys. Cowboys are a 6.5-point favorite. For whatever reason, I think the Rams are going to win straight up. Kind of coming off a loss. I know they're hurting at running back, but they brought Darrell Henderson back, who kind of looked like he might be their lead back going forward until Kyrie Williams gets back. But they've got arguably two of the best receivers in the league right now. They've got Nacua, who's leading all rookies in receptions and yards and touchdowns, I think. And then Kupp, he's kind of getting back in his groove. I think this will be his third game back since he was on IR for that hamstring. And I don't know. I'm just not real big on Dallas anymore. Their defense is a little banged up without Diggs. I mean, he's been out all year, but I don't know. They haven't ran the ball like they typically do, like back in the Zeke days and prior to that. Pollard is a good back. They just haven't ran it real well. So I think it'll be a lot of passing on both sides of the ball, or both teams. But I like the Rams for whatever reason to win.
Yeah, the Cowboys make no sense. Like you just can't figure out. Like one week they'll look amazing, and then they lose to the Cardinals. So I don't know. I think at home that the Cowboys. I mean, they got to have this game if they have any chance or any desire to win their division with how the Eagles are looking. So I think it's a game they got to win. I think the Rams will keep it within 6.5, and I'm sure it'll be some kind of shootout or a really tight game. And honestly, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see the Cowboys lose it. But I think that this is one they got to find a way to win. They got to hold serve at home to keep the division competitive. So look for Dak to make some plays. Hopefully, CeeDee Lamb has a big game for my fantasy team. The first week of the year, they went to him with like 13 catches, and they played pretty well. And now their offense, they don't seem to be getting them the ball as much. So I think that might be one of their issues there. They need to get the ball in that guy's hands, and then maybe they can open up the run game that way. But like you said, the Rams have a lot of young stars on offense emerging, but going up against a veteran defense in a game they need to win, I think the Cowboys will find a way, but the Rams will probably cover 7 is a lot in the NFL.
Yeah, it is. All right, next one is Vikings at Packers. The line is even. This is a division matchup. I think it's going to be a close game. I think really both these teams are a little bit better than their record reflects. They both had some kind of close games, but The Vikings have had a tough schedule to this point. They started out with the Buccaneers. They dropped that one, which probably shouldn't have. Then they lost to the Eagles. Then they lost to the Chargers, both good teams. Then they beat the Panthers, lost to the Chiefs, another good team. Then they beat the Bears, and then they just beat the 49ers this past week. So, um, they've arguably played three of the top five teams in the league right now with the Eagles, Chiefs, and 49ers. So I think they've had a tough schedule. I know they're without Justin Jefferson, but I like them to win in this one. I think Packers are a little too young right now. I think the veterancy of Kirk Cousins would come out this week, and I like them to win.
Yeah, I mean the Vikings' schedule's been ridiculous, so they're definitely battle tested. I think they'll win this game. They're really starting to play well, even without Jefferson. It's kind of letting, like we saw in the 49ers game the other night, Addison's really coming on as a weapon. Hawkinson's one of the best tight ends in the NFL. They aren't even really having to use Madison that much, and that guy is a solid running back too. And like you said, Kirk.
All right, next one is Eagles at Commanders. Another division matchup game. Eagles are favored by 6.5. I do like Eagles to win. I just don't know if it'll be 6.5 on the road. Commanders have a good defense. Their offense hasn't looked too terrible this year either. I don't know, just 6.5 in the NFL is kind of a crazy number. I mean, three's the spread for a lot of games, but when it gets that above three, it's really wonky and kind of it's sketchy to bet it one way or another. I just feel like it's very unpredictable when it gets to that point. I do think the Eagles win. I just don't know if they'll cover that 6.5. It'll be really close to that though. Yeah. All right, our last one on the slate is the Bengals at 49ers. The 49ers are a 5.5 point favorite. Um, I think the 49ers will win, but depending on how close this game is, really just depends on which Bengals and which Joe Burrow shows up to the game. They've had games where they've looked really good um, and played, kind of how we've expected them to play, looking at their roster, but they've had a lot of games this year where they haven't really kind of played the part either. So um, I do think 49ers will win. I don't know how close it'll be. Depends what Bengals show up. So 5.5, another tricky one. I don't know. I coming off a loss too, so I don't know. Being back at home, I'll do it for the sake of the podcast. I'll take them to cover the 5.5. With you there. Yeah, I'm curious to see if Debo Samuel will be back this week or not. Just kind of seems like their offense and Purdy have been kind of out of sorts without him. He hasn't really been a huge piece to their offense either. They've really been kind of using Ayuk a lot and Kittle and McCaffrey. Obviously, he's gone like 16 straight games with a touchdown, which is pretty insane. He's about to break the record if he gets one this year or this upcoming week. So. Um, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm with you, and I hope we're both right. So, all right, yeah, I think that's all we have for this week. A little bit shorter of an episode. We'll get more in depth next week as we have a recap and a preview. Kind of get back on schedule. But make sure you follow us on our social media pages: Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, like, share it to your friends, etc. Let's get this thing blown up. But I believe that's all we have for this time. Tune in next week.